All right, Shanna. I want you to imagine your phone rings tonight. You look at the screen, and it's a number you recognize. Maybe it's a close relative or a longtime friend.
Well, and of course, I'm going to pick it up immediately.
I mean, yeah, naturally you would. And on the other end, you hear their voice. It sounds exactly like them. The tone, the inflections, even the way they breathe. And they sound terrified. They tell you they've been in an accident, they're at a police station, and they need you to send money right now for bail or a tow truck.
Okay, so that's an absolute nightmare, and I'm just sweaty palms, heart racing, thinking about that hypothetical because nobody wants that phone call. I'd be halfway to the bank before the call even ended.
And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. But here's the terrifying twist of the modern era. In this scenario, your relative is actually perfectly fine. They're sitting at home. The voice you heard was an AI-generated clone, created from just a 30-second clip of them speaking on a social media video.
It's one thing to get that weird email with bad grammar, but hearing a loved one's voice in distress, that bypasses every logical filter we have. And it's not just a scam at that point. Now it's emotional warfare.
It's a new frontier of fraud, and it's changing the rules of digital safety. Today, we're going to talk about how this technology works, why caller ID can't be trusted anymore, and the simple, low-tech way that you can protect your family from a high-tech scam. Welcome back to Making Sense of Your Sense. I'm Daniel Hill.
And hello, neighbors. I'm Shanna Browning, and we're going to dive into a topic today that really kind of sounds like science fiction, and it's terrifying and scary, but it's very much a reality in everyday lives now. And we're going to talk about AI and voice cloning.
And you know, as security officer, I've seen fraud evolve from handwritten checks to phishing emails. But can I be honest with you, Shanna? This AI shift is perhaps the most personal and aggressive tactic that we've ever seen.
Yep, I agree.
It's no longer about hacking a computer. It's actually about hacking the human connection.
And that's scary within itself. And we're going to try to break down the red flags of a cloned call, why scammers use urgency to shut down your critical thinking, and how a simple family code word can be your strongest defense. So, Daniel, you know me well. We've had conversations about this. I am not techie. So how is it even possible to clone a voice? Don't you need a recording studio like us sitting here recording this podcast and hours of audio?
Well, you know, that used to be the case. I mean, even as recently as 5 years ago, you would need massive computing power and a large library of samples. But today, with modern generative AI, a scammer only needs about 30 seconds of audio. They can find that on a public Facebook video, a TikTok, even a LinkedIn greeting. You know, honestly, even our voices on this podcast.
I know. That's what I'm sitting here thinking.
Is fair game.
Yeah. So they really don't have to speak to you face to face or even on a phone to get your voice?
No. And that brings us to this point. You know, have you ever posted a happy birthday video or a clip of your kids at a game? You know, your vocal fingerprint, it's out there.
It's so much.
AI, it analyzes your pitch, accent, speed of your speech, and the unique way that you pronounce certain vowels. You know, I've noticed just in our recordings, I say the word data, you say the word data. That AI is going to pick up on that, and it creates a digital model that can then read any script that the scammer types in.
And that's crazy to me, just crazy. And then they combine that, you take that and they combine it with spoofing. And we've mentioned that before, but will you remind everyone what that looks like on their phone?
So spoofing is where they manipulate the signal So your phone displays a name or number that you trust. They can make it say home or mom or, even the name of our bank.
Which just makes me mad. So you see the name of someone that you love, or you hear the voice you know, and you're told, hey, there's an emergency. And it's immediately, I'm sure, designed to trigger a biological fight or flight response.
Exactly. And when you're in fight or flight, the logical part of your brain, the part that says, wait, why is my brother calling from a local number if he's on vacation in Mexico? That part of the brain goes dark. And the scammer's goal is to keep you in that panic state as long as possible.
I'm sure. And so we always talk about urgency being the biggest red flag, right? Urgency.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also this isolation factor, right?
Yes. Scammers will most often always tell you not to hang up the phone. They'll say something like, the police are taking my phone away in 30 seconds. Stay on the line with the tow truck driver. Or don't tell anyone else yet because it'll just make things worse.
So they're playing to use what they're doing. So they're wanting to prevent you from doing the one thing that would break that spell, hanging up the phone and calling the person directly.
Absolutely. I've seen cases where people stay on the line for 2 hours, drive to a store to buy gift cards or go to a Bitcoin ATM, all while the scammer is whispering in their ear, keeping them in that bubble of fear.
And I think it's so important for those of you all that are listening to us that if someone tells you that you cannot hang up the phone to verify a story, you can hang up the phone because that's probably a 100% guarantee that that's a scam.
Yes.
No legitimate law enforcement officer or a hospital staff is going to prevent you from calling a family member back.
That is the best first step. If you get a distressing call, even if it sounds just like them, fight the instinct.
I know.
Hang up.
I know.
Breathe. Then call them back on the number you have saved in your contacts, not the number that just called you. You can always say, hang on, I've got to get gathered together. Let me give you a call right back.
Yep. I think that's a great way.
Break that connection.
Yep. And if they don't answer, so if I call that number back that I have in my phone and not the number that called me. So if they don't answer, I'm guessing that's when you need to make your next call to their spouse, their roommate, their office, somebody that breaks that isolation. Because the moment you make a second connection, the scammer's power is gone.
Hey everyone, it's Daniel Hill from First Century Bank. If you've enjoyed listening to Making Sense of Your Sense, and you found our tips helpful for your financial journey, I want to ask you a quick favor. Please take a moment right now to hit that subscribe or follow button on your favorite podcast app. It's the best way to make sure you never miss an episode, and it helps other people in our community find the show. We also really want to hear from you. Do you have a question we haven't answered yet, or just want to let us know what you think of the podcast? If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave us a comment directly on the episode page, or you can always send us an email at podcast@fcbtn.com. We're building this show for you, and your feedback helps us make it even better. Thanks so much for listening and for being part of this journey with us. That shift from panic back to a place of information is really where your true defense begins. And that need for clear communication is exactly what we see in the questions we've been asked every single day.
It really is that way. And people are starting to see these headlines, and understandably, they're worried. I see the headlines and we worry about those things. So one of the most common things that we're being asked right now is, what are the newest AI-driven scams currently circulating that we need to be watching for?
Well, beyond the one we've talked about, the distressed relative scam, we're starting to see executive impersonation. That's where a scammer clones a boss's voice and calls an employee asking them to facilitate an urgent wire transfer for a confidential deal that needs to happen before the end of the day.
And we're also seeing bank rep clones, someone who sounds professional and helpful, just like your local banker would be, calls to verify a suspicious transaction and then ask for your social security number or a one-time code to fix it.
You know, that's a great reminder. First Century Bank will never, and I can't stress this enough, will never call you and ask for your password or a code we just sent to your phone. If you get that call, it's a scam. No matter how much it sounds like the neighborly voice from your branch, hang up the phone, call us back at one of our publicly listed numbers that you know, and verify that that's accurate. Do not give any information to that caller. And honestly, if it's legitimate, if it's one of our employees, if it's a relationship banker calling to ask you to verify information, and you tell them, I need to hang up and call you back, believe me, we will understand.
That's right. We're going to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% of the time. So don't be afraid to take that step.
Yeah.
Because we're not ever going to call you and ask for information like that over the phone.
That's correct. And then coming back into that, so another question that we get is sometimes from folks who actually took our advice in season 1 and said, well, since my credit is already frozen, what is the next layer of digital protection I should use against these AI threats?
Well, a credit freeze, like we talked about in last season, that's great for stopping people from opening new accounts. But AI scams are about tricking you into sending money from your existing accounts. The next layer is tightening up your social media privacy.
Which needs, I think, to be talked about more sometimes, right? So if your videos are public, your vocal fingerprint right now is public. So by making your accounts, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're using, if you make those accounts private or friends only, you make it much harder for a scammer to find that 30-second clip they need.
Absolutely. And finally, enable multi-factor authentication. That's MFA. Everywhere. Use it on anything you can use it on. If a scammer does manage to trick you into giving up a password, that second layer, the code sent to your phone or generated by an app, is the last line of defense that keeps them out of your actual funds. You know, Shanna, we could talk about this for hours. I mean, this is such a huge topic, but quite frankly, our listeners don't want to hear us for hours on ends. Those of you that do, let us know.
We'll talk.
And this has been a really heavy topic.
Yep.
But there's a very simple low-tech solution that works every single time, regardless of how good the AI gets. And that brings us to this week's actionable tip.
So Daniel said it, and he's right. It is a heavy topic. It's a lot to take in. But your tip for this week is to establish a family code word.
Sometime this week, maybe at the dinner table or over a quick text thread, choose a word or a short phrase that only your immediate family knows. It should be something random, not a pet's name or a birthday.
Something like blue pineapple, or hey, Tennessee orange truck, or old oak tree.
Exactly. I like that last one.
Yep.
If you ever get a call from a loved one in a supposed emergency asking for money, you simply ask, what's the code word?
See, I need to do this with my dad for sure. An AI can't guess that, and a scammer won't know it. If they can't give you the word or then try to dodge the question by saying, I don't know, I'm too stressed to remember that, you know immediately that the person on the other end is a fraud.
Wow. It's a 60-second conversation that can save you heartache, money, and it really is a low-tech fix for a high-tech problem.
I like that. Low-tech fix for a high-tech problem. All right, Daniel, I'm going to go home. I kid you not. I'm really going to do this with my dad and set my family code word tonight because it's such a relief to have a fail-safe just like that.
Well, and I'm going to ask you next week what your code word
Deal.
is. No, I'm kidding. I won't do that.
Don't you ask me that.
And next week, I think we're going to lighten things up a little bit with some financial spring cleaning.
Spring.
We're going to show you how to scrub your bank statement and find that hidden cash leakage from unused subscriptions.
Oh, yeah. There's many of us ready for that. And same for me. I probably have a few free trials that haven't been free for a long time. But you know what's free? Our podcast. You can subscribe now to it for free so you don't miss an episode.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us and for staying vigilant. Now, go out and make some sense of your sense.